Welcome back to the Better Late Than Never Club. I'm Bec.
And I'm Frost.
And tonight we revisit a very highly rated film. The number shocked me greatly.
I was not surprised.
We are watching The Terminator from 1984.
It's older than I thought it was. I thought, I'll hedge my bets. It's older than I think it is. 1987? No, 1984. Gee, I hope it's not just rose-tinted glasses.
I don't think so, based on the score. And it has definitely, it has seemingly made its way onto many a list.
So what do you know about The Terminator?
Arnold.
Yeah, that's it. That's actually the whole film. I'm thinking we make this a two-part special, if we can.
Well, I don't know why you say just two parts, because there's 5 movies that come after this one, so 6 Terminator movies in total across the franchise.
Right, yes.
You're telling me that the other 4 are no good?
What I'm saying is that The Terminator and Terminator 2, which I think is called Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I think that's right.
I believe that those two work really well because they are very close together in terms of their release and their schedule and also their story. The others are a little bit, more subjective. I feel like we get the true Arnold experience in Terminator 1 and 2.
Okay, fair enough.
And I Terminator 3 is still good. I remember enjoying that film. But if we make this a double, that's a Better Late Than Never Club, little sandwich, little bow on top.
Not a triple. You don't want to overdo it.
If after Terminator 2 you're frothing for Terminator 3, I'll rewatch it. I'm sure it was great.
Well, it's action sci-fi, so that's bound to be good.
It's going to be pretty easy watching. None of this
hope so.
None of this working out a film noir mystery halfway through or worrying about whether or not we've cottoned on to who the bad guy is. It should be pretty evident.
Other things I know about this film. I like to think it's plentiful, but I actually don't think it's that plentiful. I know that it involves time travel.
Yeah.
Someone being sent back in time to stop the Terminator. I know that Arnold is the Terminator. What I'm confused about is I'm not sure who gets sent back in time to stop who, but I know that there's someone called Sarah Connor, and I know that she has a son, John Connor?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's in this film, and I don't know if who's sent back to kill who and what they did to deserve that. I'm pretty sure that the Terminator, aka Arnie, is bad, and at some point he turns good, or at least more like chaotic neutral. That's my vibe that I'm picking up.
You're picking it up here first, folks. Chaotic neutral Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Other than that, I know that he's like a cyborg, or maybe full robot. Because I don't know if cyborg implies like human robot.
I think cyborg implies
human elements.
Biomechanical at least.
Okay, well I'm pretty sure he's just full robot but like skinned to look like a human.
Yeah, it makes the CGI real easy if it's just a human.
Right, exactly. That's about all I know.
I mean, it's an action sci-fi flick. I think you've basically more or less nailed the plot. There's not a lot of plot.
I mean, yeah, look, this film's been out for 40 years, yeah. So it's not a huge deal. I think that I know basically every big pinpointed plot thing.
You know some key Terminator bits of lore. I think the plot of this movie might still surprise you. You'll be like,
I'll be back. I know he says that.
Yep. Yeah,
Is that how they set up the sequel? That's pretty schmick. It's actually that they came up with the line first and they're like, can we base a movie around this so that we can get a sequel? And that's how they came up with the plot. No. So what I find interesting about like the Terminator Chronicles, the world of it, if you will, is... The universe?
Yeah, the universe. It's really lore heavy and kind of like Predator. I don't think in the first movie we're going to get much.
I see. Well, I guess that's what Arnie's good at.
Yeah, Arnie's real good at those 1980s action flicks where heaps of lore, but we're going to show you the index and we're going to show you the contents, and those are the only 2 pages you're going to get, and there's going to be a whole lot of shooting in between.
Well, speaking of Arnie, this film is sort of the film that cemented him. This was pre-Predator. This was like the film that cemented him as capable of being a leading figure, a main character. In looking to cast this film, I wrote down a few things from the Wikipedia, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. So they were trying to cast for another role, not the Terminator, someone called Kyle Reese, who I gather is another main character. But I don't know anything about him.
Neither do I. So
they were looking for someone who was like an up-and-comer in the US, so a known name, not like an old, like an already super big star, but like an up-and-comer.
To play the Terminator?
No, to play this other guy, Kyle. Yeah. And they also wanted someone who would have foreign appeal.
Yep.
So someone put forward Arnie's resume for this other role of Kyle.
Yep.
And they read it over and were like...
What were they like, Bec? You've got me on tenterhooks.
They basically were like, that's... No, like someone was doing like a sketch of him, like Arnie. I don't know who. But like, and then they showed the sketch to someone else and they were like, he would make a pretty great Terminator because obviously he's got such striking features and everything. They also weren't sure that he was famous enough to play this Kyle role.
Yeah, yeah.
So... And other people that turned down the Terminator role, because that's always interesting, like who else was our possible contenders.
The titular role.
I mean, it's surely you could name at least one. Think about the time frame and who else.
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson both turned down the role of the Terminator.
Mel Gibson is the Terminator.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's hard to imagine anyone other than Arnie, right?
Right,
but Also, hilariously... One of the filmmakers suggested O.J. Simpson, but James Cameron didn't think at the time that Simpson would be believable as a killer, which is a great piece of lore.
Oh, that's very funny. I mean, neither did the jury, so he was right. He was right.
If the robot fits. Another funny kind of thing I picked up off the wiki was that Arnie did not think it was going to be like a good film. I don't know if this was pre-taping, like after he'd gotten the role, but before they'd made it, because he like quoted to someone, he was on like another set and someone was asking him about something and he was like, oh, it's for a shit film I'm making. It should only take me a few weeks.
Well, because his speaking part, not a lot of that for him in this role, right? Like,
very physical.
Yeah. So if he just read his bit and like there's 12 lines and half of them are I'll be back, I can appreciate that he thinks that maybe it's not exactly a stellar film.
Also, from his perspective at the time, the director is James Cameron. Now, us here in the far-flung future of 2025 know that James Cameron is a huge name and has a legacy.
He's done at least one film that I can name.
But at the time, James Cameron was not. This is the film that made James Cameron.
Oh, there you go.
So I can also understand from Arnie's perspective that like he's not walking into this thing being like, oh, I get to star in a big director's film.
What was the budget for this film?
It's like $6 million.
Oh, so it wasn't like a small budget, like nothing film.
It wasn't nothing, but it certainly wasn't huge, I guess.
I guess to put that in the context of like when I think of 1980s films on low budget, I think of like Cabin in the Woods era film, like a budget was $7,000.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's a low budget film. That's a no budget film. Let me confirm
it was 6.4.
So that's like
box office for 78.3.
Yeah, pretty good return.
It wasn't even in the top 20 films for the year.
I mean, the late 1980s and early 1990s, they were churning out films.
This was the early 1980s, just to be clear.
Oh my god, yeah, I keep thinking it was the late 80s.
The top 2 films for the year was Beverly Hills Cop and Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Comedy, kind of
in that order, which is crazy. I don't know, to me.
I mean, Beverly Hills Cop. That was like the classic buddy cop duo.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen that. I just think Ghostbusters is such an establishment.
I mean, Ghostbusters more like Goatbusters because like.
Yeah, that's a funny visual. Just to be clear.
Screaming goats.
Let's talk more about James Cameron.
Sure.
So you say you know at least one film he's directed.
Yes.
And what would that be?
Avatar.
Right.
The Last Airbender.
That wasn't his first big film, though, as in, even aside from this. He also did the Titanic.
Didn't even laugh at my joke, but all right.
I didn't hear it.
I said Avatar, and then I said The Last Airbender.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have to cut that.
Sorry, no. Don't leave all of this in. I demand. I will complain if you don't leave all of this in.
So you did Titanic as well?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And he did Terminator 2, obviously previous to Avatar. And also randomly he did the sequel to Aliens.
Oh, so Ridley Scott and then James Cameron.
Yeah. Anyway, that's something I didn't know.
Aliens is actually my preferred of the two films.
Wow, maybe you're just a big Cameron head.
A big Cameron head. Do love me a can.
So yeah, he obviously did Avatar, and then he's done Avatar 2, Way of Water, which I still haven't seen.
No, yeah.
Just haven't gotten around to it.
That's why we have a movie club where we watch movies 20 years later.
Because we are those people that just don't watch things when they come out.
We're finally getting around to watching Terminator.
Well, for me, yeah.
41 years late.
Hey, you know what I always say? Better late than never.
Better late than never, guys.
So I literally copied a whole paragraph from the wiki around how this film came to be from James Cameron's perspective.
Right.
So he was in Rome, Italy for the release of his, basically, I think one of the first films he did as a director, which is Piranha 2, The Spawning. Right, never heard of it. 1982. So he's in Rome. I don't know why this matters, but I guess he probably just told this story, so they just wrote all the details in the Wikipedia. Yep. But he fell ill and then had a dream in his delusional ill state, I guess.
That's code for I did a lot of drugs while in Rome.
Maybe. Not necessarily. Maybe he had a fever and had fever dreams. Anyway, he had a dream about a metallic torso holding kitchen knives dragging itself from an explosion. Pretty metal. Literally. And then he was inspired by John Carpenter, director of Halloween, of course, in the late 70s, who made that slasher on a low budget. And he basically then wrote a slasher-style film.
Yeah.
His agent didn't like it, and so he fired his agent. And then here we are. So that's it's all from a dream.
With that uplifting note, shall we press play and just shatter any preconceptions you have about this film?
I think so. I mean, I don't really have anything else written down. It's rated R. I assume that's going to be mostly just violence related.
I don't know. I don't remember.
But I'm excited to find out and to see Arnie in his ultimate form,
all right,
from my perspective.
Dear listener, we'll be back.
I was going to do it if you weren't.
First, we find ourselves in the not-so-distant year of 2029, where the world is rubble and machines patrol. Two entities travel back in time to 1984, a killer cyborg called the Terminator and a human soldier, Kyle Reese. Both are intent on locating Sarah Connor, one to kill her and the other determined to protect her. After dispatching several other Sarahs, the Terminator finds his target at a nightclub, but Reese helps her escape. Reese explains that it is Sarah's son, John, who leads a successful resistance movement in the future against the machines, meaning her survival is critical. Still on the run from the killer cyborg, the two hide in a motel and make pipe bombs, and conceive the oh-so-important John. Eventually, after further chase scenes, a final showdown in a factory leads to both Reese and the Terminator's demise. Sometime later, Sarah is seen traveling through Mexico, pregnant with John and preparing for the coming war. Here's some deeper thoughts on the matter.
Okay, so I don't want this to come off wrong, but I am somewhat surprised that it has a 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Look, here's the thing. I think everyone thinks of Terminator 1 or The Terminator. They think of it as the prequel to the good movie.
Right.
And so they're like, you couldn't have Terminator 2 be as good as it was without Terminator 1.
Without the setup.
Like, The Terminator, sure, it's a film. And here's something that I enjoyed about watching this film this time around. I think I've seen this twice now that I think about it, or third time just now. But you having said the things that you said about James Cameron's, inspiration, and a few other sort of components about that, I actually saw those plain as day, highlighted in the film.
Right.
The Halloween influence, the slasher influence, it was really quite there. It was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did enjoy that. But boy, was it not exactly the film I remembered.
It's a good film. It was enjoyable. It had, like you were saying, that Halloween-esque constant chase energy, which is not a bad way necessarily to have a film. I think it can be done. I think it was done pretty well.
I mean, it's a good kind of enemy, right? We really enjoyed It Follows, which has a really similar thread of this
Chucky
constant chasing enemy. And so, yeah, this it was quite well done in that way. The only parts I remembered of this film, actually remembered, the Give Me Your Clothes from the start.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Basically the first scene.
That's it. Basically everything else I remember is from Terminator 2.
Interesting. Well, you will definitely maybe not remember, but know the quotable quotes, the I'll be back, the come with me if you want to live. I didn't know that was from this.
Well, it's not.
Oh,
I mean,
so you lied to me.
It is from this.
When I turned to you and said, I didn't know that came from this, and you said yes.
It is. It is from this, but I don't remember it from this. I remember it from Terminator 2.
So it's said again.
Yeah, I think that's like part of the appeal is Terminator 2 wouldn't be Terminator 2 without Terminator 1. I've said too much. To focus on
Kyle's
this,
alive again?
To focus on this film, well, it's a time travel.
That's true.
It's a time travel series, Bec.
So Sarah can't
Anything
go
could
back
happen.
in time again with Baby John.
Yeah, Baby John has 2 Uzis. No, but this film, I gotta say, I didn't like the guy who played Kyle that much.
He's certainly an interesting choice because I kept kind of going back and forth on the character and the acting, right, as the two components, because he is kind of meant to be this stunted person because he's grown up in apocalyptic conditions.
For sure, like...
So he's not... It wouldn't make sense for him to be this like super well-rounded, charming, normal man. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
so
it's a very challenging spot. It's what my character would do, energy. Like,
sort of.
In a way.
Yeah. It's a little bit like just a very... I mean, he's built basically on 2 foundational posts. 1, survival, and 2, love Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
And that is basically how he acted.
Yep.
So I can't fault the actor on that.
No. I think like either the actor did a stellar job of a tough role or... Because I don't know this guy from anything else.
No, neither do I. I didn't even recognize his name.
It was interesting to me when you said at the start that they were looking for a semi-recognizable actor to play.
Maybe he was. I probably should have looked up if he's been in anything else.
Because like compared to Arnie, right? The 2 chased, Kyle and Sarah, they have more screen time or as much screen time as Arnie. But as far as dialogue goes, they are the majority of the dialogue. The only other dialogue in the film really is the cops, the lieutenant and his skeptic mate, and then that criminal psychologist. And then random one-off lines. Yeah, a couple of one-liners, but actual dialogue that progresses the plot and et cetera, et cetera. Ginger would be 5th. No, not even. Matt would be. Ginger said barely anything. Yeah. She listened to music and vibed. He said, "Hey, don't make me beat you up." As his last words. So the guy that plays Kyle Reese is called Michael Biehn. It's Biehn. Michael Baum, I don't know. Yeah. Michael. He was in a few things before this, but not... Nothing you could name? Well, he was an uncredited school athlete in Greece. But then a few other things that I've never heard of. So I definitely, maybe they changed their mind on that, on trying to cast someone more famous. Everyone, you hear all the stories, everyone thought it was going to be a real flop. Right, so maybe they couldn't recruit someone. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think it mattered. It didn't, no. I mean, you can't really know because they were making a film for the 1984 audience. So it wouldn't matter anyway for us going back 40 years. And look, the actors and acting aside, through the lens of this film is 41 years old, there was so much high quality special effects, the set pieces, the puppetry, the stop motion. I'm always impressed when, something that would now be done just completely digitally because you couldn't do it digitally back then, but they had to come up with a way to do it. And that I really enjoy movies from the 80s because of that. It was the highlight of Hellraiser for me. Was that all the physical effects? Yeah, special effects, really cool. It is pretty cool, just how creative humans had to be to create something new and exciting. Get this idea across for film. Yeah. So I do love that. I do love me some moving pictures. Famous quote by Anthony DiNozzo. It's definitely a cool storyline. I see what you mean about similar to Predator, not quite as bad. Yeah. In terms of this is the lore before the thing that's this is prequel energy. Yeah, yeah. Whereas Predator was we needed a prequel. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the opposite of this is fine because it's establishing lore that it can grow upon. It definitely suffers from 80s, some 80s vibes. I mean, I think it's a bit of a trope that
irks me, not like super bad, but just a little bit, is when relationships just crop up out of nowhere. And like, it's often in these circumstances, like trauma relationships of like people that met like literally hours ago are suddenly like all over each other. And there probably is psychology around that of like your body is filled with like adrenaline and you know, it can be, and I mean, it's a thing if in like life and death situations, like sometimes that is a response of like, I'll go get my rocks off one last time kind of vibe.
The 4 Fs.
I don't want to know.
Flight response, fear response.
Oh, right. Not the Fs I was thinking of. But yeah, it just feels unreal. I don't know. I guess I can't speak for that experience. I don't know what that's like to be on the run from an evil cyborg.
I mean,
that's out to kill me, and then the one man that knows all about that and is dedicating his existence to saving me. Maybe that is the biggest turn on I've ever heard of. I don't know.
Yeah, look, we won't know until you've tried it, so don't knock it.
I'll come back next week and let you know, guys.
Yeah. So if anyone knows any cyborg assassins, send them after Bec, and then send an informant, and we'll see if she falls for him, and that should be a pretty good measure, I feel.
Yeah.
Definitely the 1-for-1 test.
But I guess it's fine for the sake of the story. It doesn't ruin the story for me at all. Like it's fine.
Yeah. And like, you know, you see it coming pretty
absolutely.
far off because it's
I think I said like in the second scene he was in, I said, oh, so that's the father.
Yeah, exactly. Before it's even like, I'm here to save your unborn child.
Right.
Like, you know, there's like a maybe about
because I was like, this film's only an hour and 40 minutes long. They're not going to find time for her to find someone else to fall in love with.
It's not another male character on the set, except the lieutenant who, by the way, what a darling.
They didn't actually show him dying, I don't think. They showed him be shot.
That's true. He was just like...
In my headcanon, he's the only survivor.
Yeah, the sole survivor, and that's why there's a police manhunt, because he was able to give a description, because he's an absolute unit.
Legend.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Headcanon, the lieutenant survives.
No, it's a good film. I liked the music. I think I said a couple of times we were watching it. It's got that kind of 80s futuristics synthwave type energy.
Yeah, they did nail that.
Yeah, and it also has kind of video game level energy of, you know, a tense, like you're fighting the boss, or, you know, like level side scroller kind of energy. I
agree with you. I'm surprised that the music score wasn't by anyone sort of recognizable, because
it was like Brett Fiend or something. I can't remember his name.
The hook, right? That dun 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 dun. That's like the Terminator hook, and I don't know. I feel like it gets used a little bit in pop culture from time to time. Not as much as like an Indiana Jones hook or a Jurassic Park hook or a Star Wars hook. It's not so much like a song as Well, there's like that horns, the French horn bit after it, right? But I don't know. It is
Brad
recognizable. Brad Fiedel. Has he done anything else notorious?
Yeah, let's see. Well, he did Terminator 2, so it's enough for me.
I imagine he did a gamut of Terminator-related activities.
Maybe not. There was a pretty big gap in time, so it might have been taken up by... I don't even think James Cameron did the other Terminators.
Oh, really?
I think he did one of the later ones, more the recent ones, but...
So wait, no, he did Terminator 2. You said that earlier.
But I'm saying like there's 6 Terminators total.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm saying I don't know if he did all of them.
I think there's a pretty big gap between Terminator 2 and 3 and like the other Terminator movies and stuff. And like,
there's one made in like 2019, which I think is pretty recent.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. There's also a TV show, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, which I haven't seen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So Brad Fiedel, the music guy, didn't do anything else that I recognize. I think on a very brief look at his filmography. He has a pretty lengthy filmography of stuff that he did.
As like musical director?
Yeah, he's a composer.
Yeah, wow.
So there's a lot going on here, but just not huge names. I thought I saw something that said Gladiator, but it's a different movie.
Different Gladiator.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this might be this is definitely the ones listed at the top of his Wikipedia.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And as well as something called True Lies.
Well, I have heard of that.
But I don't know that.
Oh, Christ, I can't think of his name. The guy from Pulp Fiction.
John Travolta?
Yes, Scott Travolta in it, I think. Either that I'm horribly wrong because it's me. But
let us know.
Yeah, how wrong am I about John Travolta being in True Lies? I don't even care. I'm married to that statement now.
Editor's note.
I was thinking about Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, not John Travolta from Face Off, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is the lead role in True Lies.
Look, I liked it. It was good. It definitely I would watch. I do want to watch the second film for sure.
I am surprised it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes because it is
Right.
at its base, it's an action thriller slasher
Sci-fi.
and there's not a lot to hate, but there's not a lot to love.
Right, like it was. I mean, my score will reflect that I enjoyed myself, but I'm not walking away like, wow, what a masterpiece.
Yeah, like we're not going to go and be like, how's anyone not seeing this film? You've got to go see this film.
I think Jurassic. I mean, I haven't seen this movie in about 11 years, but my memory of watching Jurassic Park for the first time, I was really blown away by how good that movie was.
Now, here's an interesting thing. The Terminator 2,
Yeah.
that's the film. That's like...
What do you mean?
That's...
Oh, like the one... Well, it only has 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you're clearly wrong.
Here's what I don't get about that score is every good, like, quotable quote, notable note, every fun bit I remember about the Terminator...
universe is from number 2.
Is from number 2, with like a couple of bits from number 3, because I think I have seen it.
I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it is more of like, for the time, it was just really good. Because I can't really compare it to Jurassic Park. That was 10 years later. So, like, you can't really...
The Rotten Tomatoes score isn't from 1984, though.
No, I mean, I think that number it's derived from a few different things.
Oh, is it? I just always assumed it was like a user satisfaction review, which if you existed before the internet, you're going to score pretty well. But maybe it's not. I don't actually know.
Let me see. I saw somewhere, maybe it was on the wiki. Give me a second.
Maybe 100% on Rotten Tomatoes isn't good.
No, it definitely is.
You've just got a lot of tomatoes.
Here we go. Straight from the wiki.
Loud on.
The Terminator has an approval rating of 100% based on 67 professional reviews on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, with an average rating of 8.8 out of 10.
What?
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm just telling you what that says.
All right. So 60. I'm not a mathematician, folks.
Yeah, no, I know.
But if you had an average rating of 8.8 out of 10, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to be, I'm just going to put a number out there, 88% out of 100?
Right.
Like, wouldn't that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah. So, okay. On the review, a film has a rating of 100% if each professional review recorded by the website is assessed as positive rather than negative. So it's got 67 reviews. All of them are positive. Correct.
Even though their average rating is between obviously above 5, right? They're all positive.
8.8 is the average. So the 100% rating is vulnerable to a film critic purposefully submitting a negative review for notoriety.
Yes. Yep.
For example, this is straight from Wikipedia, by the way, guys. We're doing a deep dive. For example, Lady Bird, which is on my list to watch, has a 100% rating based on 196 positive reviews when a film critic submitted a negative review solely in response to a perfect rating because it had a... To date, it has a 99% rating with 401 positive reviews and 4 negative reviews.
Huh.
Now, they have to be from like official people.
Yeah, like Rotten Tomatoes.
You can't like review bomb just like everyday people.
That's the other... There's like a second score. There's like Rotten Tomatoes and like a different one where people do review bomb.
Yeah. Another example is Paddington 2 held a perfect rating from its release in 2017 until a film critic published a negative review in June 2021. To date, that film has a 99% rating with 251 positive reviews and 2 negative reviews.
So, yeah, reviewers just trying to get their name out there being like, you know what really grinds my gears? Paddington 2.
And lastly, just to round out this Wikipedia deep dive, the 100% rating can also be affected by rediscovering negative reviews, as is the case with Citizen Kane, when an 80-year-old negative review from the Chicago Tribune affected its former 100% rating.
That is really funny. Imagine digging that up. Oh my God, this gentleman had some shit to say about Citizen Kane.
So there's actually quite a lengthy list of movies that have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that I understand that it's just official reviews that are generally positive, that number holds a little bit...
less weight.
Less weight is like a magical number. Like,
right.
100% is not that much better than 99%.
Yeah. There is an interesting... So there's like a list on this Wikipedia... and you can sort it by year and number of reviews. It's quite fascinating. It does surprise me
that there is no negative reviews about this movie, but there are negative reviews about Terminator 2.
Right.
That's wild. That's wild to me.
I don't know.
Anyway, speaking of positive and negative reviews.
Yes, shall we add our own to the pile?
Yeah, let's get rotten in this tomato.
Overall, I think if I have to ascribe a number, which is what we do,
it's
part of
that is how we score things.
Yeah. I think I'd give this film like a 7.8. 7.8 cheap cover charge out of 10.
I would go 7.6 cops in this building will keep you safe out of 10.
Oof.
Because that's about all that was left.
Maybe not even that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, look, it was enjoyable. It definitely made me want to watch the second one. I was impressed by Arnie's performance. Like, he does a really good job of... It's kind of like... It's like anti-acting, where it's like he has to dehumanize himself, you know,
sure.
in his expressions, in his bodily movements. It's an interesting challenge, and he does it really well. And that's helped by his physicality. He's just so huge compared to the average person that it befits you to believe that he is inhuman.
Yeah.
And then he's got the right, like, big browed for, you know, like facial expressions that he can, and he's like wide-eyed kind of.
Yeah.
He just does it well. It's, you know.
You can believe that it's just human meat slapped on a robot chassis.
Right. And his natural voice, which obviously he can like imitate voices in this movie, but his natural voice is, I guess for an American audience, foreign, so it sounds also kind of like robotic. Jarring, like it doesn't, you know, so it works well.
I need your clothes.
I thought that Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor, she did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
she did.
The hair was very distracting.
Very,
for me the whole
very
time.
80s hair.
Oh, so 80s.
So 80s. So big and bouncy.
So all of those things you said that you quite liked, I associate those as like Terminator 2 is just a better film, and I'm excited to watch it. We should do a part 2. Episode 17 should be Terminator Part 2.
All right. I agree to that.
Right.
I'm down.
Fantastic. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's get on with the next episode.
Okay. I guess, well, you know what's coming next week. Whenever you're listening to this, it might already be out. Who knows? Go check.
I mean, send us your Recs and stuff, but it'll be Terminator 2 for the next one.
But after Terminator 2, what's the next film? And if you have a request, let us know. Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, the Better Late Than Never Club. That's how you found us. That's where you'll find us. Till next time.
Till next time.
This episode of the Better Late Than Never Club is brought to you by our patrons: Alex, Christopher, Lindy, Matthew, Nathan, and Rachel.
And also our members, Aimless, Andrew, Raina, Salty Pond, and Simon.
Thank you for listening.